You were never supposed to see this, and the fact that you are watching or hearing these words right now is not a coincidence. It is not random, and it is definitely not something that just happened by chance, because there are moments in life where something invisible shifts, something hidden starts coming closer to the surface, and suddenly you find yourself in front of a message that feels like it was written just for you, like it knows your past, your pain, your confusion, your unanswered questions, and even the silent nights when you wondered why love never stayed, why people walked away, why connections that felt so real somehow slipped through your fingers like they were never meant to stay. And this right here, this message, is that moment for you, because there is a truth about your soulmate that has been hidden from you, protected from you, delayed from you, not because you were forgotten, not because you were rejected, but because there was something about this connection that was never supposed to be rushed, never supposed to be seen too early, and definitely never supposed to be understood before the right time, and now that time is starting to unfold whether you are ready for it or not. There is someone out there who has felt your energy long before you ever crossed paths, someone who has been unknowingly walking towards you while you were busy healing, growing, breaking, and rebuilding yourself piece by piece. And what makes this even more intense is that there have already been moments where your paths almost crossed, moments where you were closer than you think, maybe in the same place, maybe at the same time, maybe just one decision away from meeting, but something always interrupted it, something always delayed it, something always kept you apart, and you might have thought it was bad luck, you might have thought it was timing, but the truth is far deeper than that, because some connections are so powerful that they are protected until both souls are ready to handle what comes with it. And here's the part that most people are not ready to hear: your soulmate is not just someone who will love you, they are someone who will change you, someone who will trigger parts of you that you didn't even know existed, someone who will force you to confront the parts of yourself that you have been avoiding for years. And that is exactly why this connection had to stay hidden, because if it had come into your life earlier, it wouldn't have worked, not because it wasn't real, but because you weren't ready to hold something that deep without breaking it, and neither were they. Think about all the people who came into your life before, the ones you thought were the ones you invested your time, your emotions, your trust into, and how each of them left something behind, a lesson, a wound, a realization, something that shaped you into who you are right now. And it might have felt like failure, it might have felt like loss, but what if none of it was a mistake? What if every single person was preparing you, slowly, painfully, but perfectly, for one specific connection that would make everything finally make sense? Because the truth is, your soulmate has also been going through their own version of this journey, their own heartbreaks, their own confusion, their own nights of wondering why nothing ever lasted, and just like you, they have been unknowingly preparing themselves for you, growing into the person they need to be so that when this connection finally happens, it doesn't fall apart like everything else did before. And this is where it gets even deeper, because there have been signs, subtle ones, quiet ones, things you might have ignored or brushed off, moments where you felt an unexplainable pull, a sudden thought about someone you've never met, a feeling that something big is coming into your life but you couldn't quite explain what it was. And those moments were not random, they were glimpses, small leaks of something that was always meant to find you at the right time. But here's the warning, and this is the part you were never supposed to fully understand until now: when this connection finally enters your life, it will not feel like the others, It will not be simple, it will not be easy, and it will definitely not be something you can ignore, because it will challenge you in ways that force you to grow. It will push you out of your comfort zone. It will expose your fears, your insecurities, your patterns, and it will demand a version of you that is stronger, more aware, and more emotionally real than you have ever been before. Most people think meeting their soulmate means everything becomes perfect, peaceful, and effortless, but that is not the truth, because real soul connections are not here to comfort your illusions. They are here to awaken you, to transform you, to break the cycles that have been repeating in your life for years, and that process is not always gentle. And right now, whether you realize it or not, you are in the final stage of preparation, the phase where things might feel confusing, where you might feel alone, where you might feel like nothing is happening, but in reality everything is aligning behind the scenes in ways you cannot yet see, because once this connection enters your life, everything will start moving fast, emotions will intensify. Clarity will hit you in ways you didn't expect, and the life you are living right now will begin to shift. So if you are seeing this, if you are hearing this, understand that this is not just content, this is not just another message, this is a signal, a warning, and a preparation all at once, because something is getting closer to you, something that was never supposed to be forced, never supposed to be rushed, but now cannot be stopped anymore. And the real question is not whether your soulmate is coming, because they are. The real question is, are you ready for what happens when they do? And the reason this question matters more than anything right now is because when this kind of connection finally steps into your life, it doesn't just add something new, it replaces something old. It shifts your entire emotional world in a way that you cannot go back from. Because the version of you that existed before meeting them will slowly start to disappear, not in a painful way, but in a way that feels like you are finally becoming who you were always meant to be, and that transformation is something most people underestimate until they are in the middle of it, because it doesn't happen all at once, it happens in moments, in conversations, in eye contact that feels too intense to explain, in silence that somehow says everything without a single word being spoken. There will be a moment, and this is important, where you will feel like you've known them before, not in a logical way, not in a way you can prove, but in a way your soul recognizes something familiar, something safe yet powerful at the same time, and that feeling might scare you at first, because it will be deeper than anything you've experienced before, deeper than attraction, deeper than attachment. It will feel like connection on a level that goes beyond what you thought was possible, and that is exactly why many people run from it when it first appears, because intensity like that forces you to face yourself in ways you can't avoid. And here is something that might hit you harder than expected. When you meet your soulmate, they will see through you, not in a judgmental way, not in a way that makes you feel exposed negatively, but in a way that makes hiding impossible, because they will notice the things you don't say, they will feel the emotions you try to suppress, they will understand the patterns you didn't even realize you had. And being seen that deeply can feel uncomfortable if you are not used to it, because most of your life you have been understood only on the surface, but this connection goes far beyond that. This is where the warning becomes real, because if you are still holding on to past pain, past fears, past habits of pushing people away or shutting down emotionally, this connection will bring all of that to the surface, not to hurt you, but to heal you. But healing is not always comfortable. Sometimes it feels like everything is falling apart before it comes together, sometimes it feels like confusion before clarity, distance before closeness, silence before understanding. There may even be moments where you question everything, where you wonder if this is too much, too intense, too complicated, because it doesn't follow the normal patterns you are used to, it doesn't feel like the relationships you've had before, and that's because it's not supposed to. This is not a repeat of your past, this is the end of it. And what makes this even more powerful is that your soulmate will also be going through their own internal battles at the same time, their own fears, their own doubts, their own process of understanding what this connection means, and there might be moments where the timing still feels off, where things don't fully align immediately, where patience becomes the hardest part of the journey, because even though the connection is strong, both of you still have to grow into it. This is something very few people talk about, because everyone wants the idea of a perfect love story, but real soulmate connections are not about perfection, they are about evolution, they are about becoming better, stronger, more aware versions of yourselves together, and that process requires honesty, vulnerability, and sometimes distance to truly understand the depth of what is happening. You might notice changes within yourself even before they fully enter your life, changes in the way you think, the way you feel, the things you tolerate, the standards you set, the boundaries you create, and all of this is happening for a reason, because you are aligning with something that requires a higher version of you, a more awakened version of you, someone who is no longer willing to accept half connections, temporary emotions, or anything that feels forced or incomplete. And when this connection finally stabilizes, when both of you reach that point of understanding, it will feel different from anything you've known, not because it's perfect, but because it's real, because it's honest, because it's built on something deeper than surface-level attraction or temporary feelings. It's built on growth, on understanding, on a connection that has already survived distance, timing, and internal struggles. But here is the part you need to be ready for. Not everyone is meant to hold on to this kind of connection, not because they don't deserve it, but because they are not willing to grow into it. And if you resist the changes that come with this, if you try to control it, if you try to force it into something familiar, you risk losing something that was meant to transform your life completely. Because soulmate connections are not here to fit into your old life, they are here to create a new one. And right now, everything you are experiencing, the confusion, the emotional shifts, the moments of loneliness, the sudden realizations, all of it is part of the preparation, all of it is leading you towards something that is already in motion, something that is already getting closer, something that you cannot stop even if you tried. So don't ignore the signs, don't dismiss the feelings, and most importantly, don't run when it starts to feel real, because that is the exact moment where everything you've been waiting for finally begins, and when everything finally begins, it won't announce itself in a loud or obvious way, it won't come with a clear sign telling you, this is it, instead it will arrive quietly, almost unexpectedly, in a moment that feels ordinary on the surface but carries something extraordinary underneath, and you might not even realize at first that this is the connection you've been prepared for, because it won't look exactly how you imagined it, it won't follow the timeline you created in your mind, and it definitely won't fit perfectly into the version of love you once believed in, because this is something deeper than expectations, deeper than fantasies, this is something real. At first, it might feel simple, almost too natural, like a conversation that flows without effort, like a presence that doesn't drain you but instead gives you a sense of calm you didn't know you needed, and that calmness is where the truth begins to reveal itself, because real connections don't start with chaos, they start with clarity, even if that clarity takes time to fully unfold. But then comes the shift, the moment where everything starts to feel more intense, more meaningful, more real than anything you've experienced before, and this is where many people get overwhelmed, because suddenly it's not just about liking someone, it's not just about attraction, it becomes about vulnerability, about being seen completely, about opening parts of yourself that you've kept closed for so long. And that level of openness can feel uncomfortable if you're not used to it. There may be a moment where fear tries to take over, where your mind starts creating doubts, where your past experiences try to convince you that this will end the same way everything else did, and this is the final test, the moment that determines whether you are ready to step into this new chapter or retreat back into what feels safe but incomplete, because your past will always try to protect you, even if that protection keeps you away from something real, and this is where you have to choose differently. This is where you have to respond in a way you never have before, because if you react the same way you always did, you will get the same results you always got, but if you allow yourself to trust, to stay, to be present even when it feels unfamiliar, that is when everything begins to change. Because your soulmate is not here to repeat your past, they are here to end it. And once that realization settles in, once you stop running, once you stop questioning every feeling and start understanding it instead, the connection will begin to deepen in a way that feels almost unreal, like something you can't fully explain but you know is true, something that doesn't need constant validation because it is felt so strongly within you. There will be moments of silence that feel more powerful than words, moments of connection that don't need explanation, moments where you just know that this is different, that this is something that was meant to find you no matter how long it took, no matter how many delays, no matter how many almosts and not quites you had to go through to get here. And then you will look back, not with pain, not with regret, but with understanding, and you will realize that every delay had a purpose, every ending made space, every moment of loneliness was actually preparation, every heartbreak was a step closer to something that wouldn't break you but instead build you into someone stronger, someone ready. Because this was never about finding someone to complete you, it was about becoming someone who could recognize and hold on to something real when it finally arrived. And now here you are, closer than you've ever been, standing at the edge of a connection that has been slowly making its way into your life, whether you noticed it or not, whether you believed in it or not, it has been moving toward you the entire time. So if you feel it, if something inside you is telling you that this message is not random, that this moment means something, don't ignore it, don't brush it off, because the truth is, you were never supposed to see this until now. And now that you have, things are already changing, and what you choose to do next will quietly decide everything that follows, because moments like this don't come loudly, they don't force themselves into your life, they simply appear, and then they wait to see if you recognize them, if you feel them, if you are willing to trust something that cannot be logically explained but feels undeniably real deep inside you. And most people miss this moment, not because it wasn't there, but because they were too distracted, too guarded, too afraid to believe that something different could actually happen to them. But you are not in that position anymore, not after everything you've been through, not after everything you've felt, not after all the times you questioned why things didn't work out, because now you are starting to see the pattern, you are starting to understand that what felt like rejection was actually redirection, what felt like delay was actually protection, and what felt like endings were actually necessary steps leading you to something that couldn't have happened any other way. And this is where everything begins to lock into place, not all at once, not in a way that feels overwhelming, but in a way that feels right, in a way that feels aligned, in a way that doesn't force you to chase or prove or convince, because real connections don't require constant effort to exist, they require presence, honesty, and a willingness to stay when things become real. There is a shift happening within you right now, even if you can't fully explain it, even if you don't have all the answers yet. Something is changing in the way you see love, in the way you see yourself, in the way you understand what you truly deserve, and this shift is the final piece, the final alignment that prepares you for what is already on its way. Because the truth is, your soulmate is not a distant idea anymore, not something far away in the future, not something uncertain or unclear. They are becoming part of your reality, step by step, moment by moment, in ways that you may only fully understand when you look back and realize how everything connected perfectly, and when that realization hits you, it will feel different from anything you've ever experienced. Not overwhelming, not chaotic, but calm, certain, and grounded in a way that doesn't make you question it every second, because deep connections don't create constant doubt, they create quiet knowing. But here is something you need to hold on to, something that will matter more than anything as this unfolds. Don't rush it, don't try to control it, don't let fear make decisions for you, because the moment you try to force something that is meant to happen naturally, you disrupt the very flow that brought it to you in the first place. Let it unfold, let it reveal itself, let it grow in its own time, because what is truly meant for you doesn't need to be chased, it needs to be allowed. And there may still be moments, even now, where doubt tries to come back, where your mind questions if this is real, if this will last, if this is just another temporary chapter, but that is where your growth shows, that is where you choose to trust what you feel instead of what you fear, that is where you break the cycle that kept repeating in your life for so long, because this time is different, not because it's easier, but because you are different. And everything you went through was never meant to break you, it was meant to prepare you, to shape you into someone who could finally recognize the difference between something temporary and something real. So as this continues to unfold, as things begin to make more sense, as emotions deepen and clarity replaces confusion, remember this moment, remember that there was a time when you didn't know, when everything felt uncertain, when you were still searching for answers, because that contrast will show you just how far you've come. And one day, sooner than you think, this won't feel like a mystery anymore, it won't feel like a question, it will feel like a reality that you are living in, something stable, something real, something that no longer needs explanation. Because the truth is, this was never something you were supposed to chase. It was something you were always meant to step into. And now, without even realizing it fully, you already have, and now that you've stepped into it, even if only partially, even if you're still trying to understand what exactly is happening and why it feels so different from anything you've experienced before, there is no going back to the version of you that existed before this awareness, because once you see the pattern, once you feel the shift, once you recognize that something real is unfolding in your life, you cannot unsee it, you cannot unknow it, and you definitely cannot return to settling for anything that feels less than what you now know is possible. this is the part most people don't talk about, the quiet transformation that happens after the realization, the way your standards change without you forcing them to, the way your energy shifts without you trying to control it. The way you start walking away from things that once felt acceptable but now feel completely out of alignment with who you are becoming, and that is not loss, that is alignment, that is you stepping closer to something that actually matches your soul instead of something that only distracted it. And as this continues, you may start to notice something else, something subtle but powerful, the feeling that you are no longer chasing love in the way you used to, no longer trying to prove your worth, no longer overextending yourself just to keep someone in your life, because deep down you now understand that what is meant for you will not require you to lose yourself in order to keep it. That understanding alone changes everything, because it shifts you from a place of fear into a place of quiet confidence, not loud, not forced, but steady, grounded, and real, and that kind of energy naturally attracts what is aligned with it. And this is where everything comes full circle, because the connection that was once hidden, once delayed, once kept just out of reach, is no longer something you are waiting for in the same way. It is something that is unfolding with you, something that is meeting you at the level you have grown into, something that no longer feels like a distant possibility but a present reality that is slowly becoming clearer with time. There will still be moments of learning, moments of growth, moments where you are challenged to stay open instead of closing off, to trust instead of doubting, to communicate instead of withdrawing, because even the strongest connections require effort, but the difference now is that this effort doesn't feel draining, it feels meaningful, it feels like something worth building instead of something you are constantly trying to fix. And one day, without even realizing when it happened, you will find yourself in a moment of stillness, a moment where everything feels calm, where your mind is no longer racing with questions, where your heart is no longer carrying the weight it once did, and in that moment you will understand something that once felt impossible to grasp. You will understand why it didn't work out with anyone else. You will understand why things had to fall apart the way they did. You will understand why the timing never aligned before. And most importantly, you will understand why you had to become who you are now in order to receive what was always meant for you. Because this was never just about finding your soulmate. It was about becoming someone who could recognize them, choose them, and allow the connection to exist without fear controlling it. And that is the part that changes everything. So if you've made it this far, if you felt something while listening to this, if even a small part of you knows that this message reached you at the exact moment you needed it, then don't ignore that feeling, because moments like this are rare, and they don't appear without reason. Something is aligning. Something is coming together. Something that once felt impossible is becoming real. And whether you fully understand it right now or not, you are already part of it. Because you were never supposed to see this. Until now.